Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is Salim Akhtar Malik, your host at the Observation Post channel. On this channel, I discuss issues of national and international importance, security matters, as well as important events from military history. You can interact with me on my channel by giving your precious views and comments, and you can also connect with me on Twitter, where my Twitter account is at Salim Akhtar 53. In this session, I'll be talking to you about the speculation or the general impression in the society that our society as a whole is veering towards and is regressing towards a tribal mentality. So, the first thing which we should know is what is a tribal mentality. In short, tribal mentality is one where all the affiliations are subject to loyalty towards the clan or the tribe. So the loyalty and affiliation towards the tribe or clan supersedes all other loyalties and affiliations. Why this has come about, or why is this impression gaining ground in the country? It has been prompted by a recent decision by the Supreme Court of Pakistan, where a reference was filed against a judge by the President of Pakistan, in which it was stated that the judge had indulged in malpractices, which included money laundering and living beyond his means. In its decision, just a few days ago, the Supreme Court of Pakistan has given the verdict that the judge was, by the way, he was involved along with his wife, and the charges were of money laundering and buying properties through money laundering, buying properties in London. So the Supreme Court has exonerated the judge and his wife from all the charges, and also given the verdict that in future no case can be opened against the judge and his wife in any forum in Pakistan. This implies that any judge or his wife or his children will be exempted from prosecution, from being prosecuted by any court of law. What to talk of court of law, they would not be prosecuted in any other forum also. So the decision by the Supreme Court has prompted an impression that the Pakistani society is veering towards tribalism, because all the judges in this case, the case under consideration about which I have just talked just now, in this case, all the judges had grouped together as a community, and the verdict was nothing but defending one of their own, one of the members of their group. This is tantamount to a tribal mode of thinking or tribal thinking. Now, before we proceed further, let me talk about the stages through which a society evolves itself. That is the stages of social evolution of a society. So, in brief, there are three stages. The first is, and the most primitive stage, is the tribal stage. In its more primitive form, the society lives within the framework of a tribe. And let me tell you one thing more, that let me add one thing more, that each of the stages about which I'll be talking to you, each of these stages of social evolution corresponds to a different type of economy. So the economy of a society uh, tells us which is the stage in which it is passing through. So the first and the most primitive form of society is a tribal society, which depends on a nomadic economy. As I said, each stage depends upon a particular and peculiar type of economy. So, for the tribal stage, the economy is a nomadic economy where the tribe or the nomadic group depends upon domesticated animals. By grazing those animals, it creates or produces animal and dairy products, which becomes the major source of sustenance of the tribe. So, since the interaction of the tribe is limited, a tribal society has its affiliations based on tribal associations and clan associations, which precede any other loyalty or affiliation. The next stage in the development of society is the society based on agriculture. When agricultural lands or when lands are brought under cultivation for purposes of cropping, for growing various crops, and the society then becomes an agricultural society, and the crops are irrigated through various means of irrigation. Now, as a corollary to the agricultural society or agricultural pursuits in which agriculture is involved, many supporting avocations also pop up. And these are the cottage industries which come into existence in order to support the crops, support the cropping system, and to provide goods and services for the consumption of the agricultural society. And these are cottage industries which are regulated through various tradesmen. So various trades also come into existence, which provides, as I said, various services and goods for the consumption of the agricultural society. And these trades are, or maybe, the carpenters, the ironsmiths, the weavers, the tailors, the cobblers, etc. So these tradesmen then formally and informally get into various guilds. or traders associations, which eventually take the form of various castes. So, this is what happened in the ancient or to the ancient Hindu society. In the ancient Hindu society, which is carrying its traditions even today, and those traditions have influenced us also. The castes are based on trades. So there are Tarkhans, there are Lohars and Jolahas, etc., etc. Each one of them performing a service or producing some good or goods for the benefit of the agricultural economy or agricultural society. This is how an agricultural society operates, and in an agricultural society, the affiliations further loosen up, and these are not as strong as the tribal society, those which are there in the tribal society, where clan and tribal affiliations or loyalties take precedence over other loyalties and affiliations. Here, since the people operate on a wider canvas, they interact with a larger number of people, therefore, they marry outside their caste also and their clans also, and hence the affiliations are not as strong as we find in the tribal society. So, the next stage of the social evolution of a society is the industrial stage, where a society finally gets itself busy in large scale manufacturing. And the industrial society was first established in England in the wake of the Industrial Revolution, which happened in the 18th century. And as a result of this industrial revolution was prompted by the advent of steam power, which led to the invention of steam locomotives and steam traction engines, which drove various types of machines for production of goods and services at large scale. So, the interaction of the people within an industrial society depends upon the organs of the modern state, and these organs of the modern state came into existence side by side with the Industrial Revolution, which first happened in England and thereafter spread to the rest of the European countries as well as to the United States. So, the state organs which came into existence as a result of the Industrial Revolution were the legislature, the executive branch, and the judiciary. These three main organs, they work in unison in order to run the society. And these are also reinforced by a fourth organ, or what is called the fourth state, which is the media. So it was first, that is, initially it was the press, and now it is the press as well as electronic media. But this is not a full fledged organ, it reinforces the first three organs, that is, the legislature, the executive branch, and the judiciary. So the people in an industrial society interact with each other within the framework of the organs of the state, which provide them and which run the society. Now we come to Pakistan, where Pakistan is standing today. As I told you, that we have inherited our traditions and most of the basics of our society from the Hindu society, of which we were part some period ago. Presently, Pakistan is a patchwork of tribal, agricultural, and semi industrial societies because Pakistan has not entered the industrial age fully. It is still in the preliminary stages of industrialization. So, in this patchwork of tribal and agricultural as well as pre or semi industrial economies, which exist side by side, the normal evolution of society would have been transformation of the society from a nomadic society to the agricultural society, and then the transformation of the agricultural society to the industrial society. But this has not happened. Whereas there are three types of economies, each corresponding to a particular stage of the social evolution, that is tribal, agricultural, and industrial. The mindset over a period of time, instead of evolution to the next stage of development, has regressed towards a tribal mentality where various organs of the state, now these modern organs of the state, or what you call organs of a modern state, were created by the British during the British rule. So theoretically, these organs should have worked together and reinforced each other. But now, over a period of time, a stage has come where they are in clash with each other. So now there are three centers of gravity. Broadly speaking, there are three centers of gravity in Pakistani society, and these are the feudals, represented by the political community or the politicians, the army, and the judiciary. There are sub centers of gravity like the business community, the lawyers, and as I said, the fourth state, which is the media. But these are not full fledged centers of gravity for their existence and for their survival. These additional or sub centers of gravity have to hitch their wagon according to their expediency with one of the main centers of gravity, which are the politicians, as represented by the feudals, the army, and the judiciary. So, over a period of time, as I said, they have come into clash with each other. So, what could happen? When the organs of the state start clashing with each other, what happens is that the society is divided, is fragmented, and the country is split up into a number of semi autonomous regions, each region ruled by a particular landlord or a warlord. So this has not happened fully in case of Pakistan, but it may happen because it has happened in other countries like Somalia, like in our immediate neighborhood in Afghanistan and Myanmar. It is happening now, and it had been happening in Cambodia, Congo, Ethiopia, as well as Sierra Leone. So when this happens, when this fragmentation of society happens, there are various factions ruled by the warlords and the private armies which start fighting with each other. This happened in Somalia in 1990s, and Somalia is still, that is, after more than 2 decades, is still in a state of civil war. As late as 2020, there were still 600 American troops in Somalia which were trying to broker a peace between various warring factions. So this happens to the society, and once the law and order completely collapses, then it invites foreign powers because nature abhors a vacuum. And whenever there is a vacuum in the society, it is always filled by outside forces. This happened in Somalia in the 1990s, and in 1993, United States sent its peacekeeping forces to broker peace between the various warring sections as well as to provide humanitarian aid to the people. The United States was not part of the United Nations peacekeeping force because it always considers itself above the umbrella of United Nations. So it went there, and it operated independently. And the main purpose of United States intervention in Somalia was to nab the or to eliminate the warlords which were involved, according to the American perception, in terrorist activities and were hitting at the American global interests in Somalia. So this is how it happened in Somalia. So once the peacekeeping forces are there in a country, they remain there for a long period, and each one of those contingents which form part of the peacekeeping forces have their own axe to grind, and they exit the country only after extracting their pound of flesh. This is what happened in case of Somalia, and this is going to happen very soon in case of Afghanistan. I am not trying to play the prophet of doom. I don't say that this is going to happen tomorrow or the day after, but the symptoms of the malady are there, and unless we take corrective measures now, this malady is going to spread like cancer in our body politic, and it is going to fragment our society as it has fragmented the other societies and countries which I have mentioned in my talk. This is all I wanted to say in this session. See you in the next session with a new topic. Till then, bye bye.